to business. They were sitting face to face and spoke of the manner in which the two countries, the two sides have assisted each other in difficult times. But the biggest message that came in from the Prime Minister was on the war in Ukraine. Remember, there's a lot of pressure that's in a sense being felt and is being spoken of by the international media from Western allies, and what the Prime Minister's stated position is going to be on the war in Ukraine. That most certainly has found a mention as part of the Prime Minister's address to the Russian President Vladimir Putin. He said these solutions cannot be found in the battlefield. These solutions have to find a diplomatic engagement. Diplomacy is the only way forward and the only solution that is in the offering. So that's what was heard from Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Before we talk about what happened earlier today when he interacted with the Indian community, the Indian diaspora in Moscow, here's his big statement on the war in Ukraine.
Well, it's very interesting. I mean, his in-depth analysis of our bilateral relations and of global situation actually is very important for us. We do attach a very great importance to our bilateral cooperation in various fields, and we do share the point of view of Mr. Prime Minister that to a great extent our cooperation contributes to global economic stability and prosperity. At the same time, Russia is doing its best to help India, Indian farmers, Indian people with the supplies of necessary goods, of necessary energy sources, and so on and so forth. And it's a mutually beneficial cooperation, and we hope that we will be able to continue broadening up this kind of interaction.
Sir, anything you would like to say?
All right, so those are some of the reactions coming in from the Russian side. Of course, what's being watched out for very closely is the manner in which the world is viewing the statements that have been made both by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Vladimir Putin. I want to quickly go across to my colleague Anand Narsimhan joining us live from Moscow. A big statement of intent made by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Anand, as far as the war in Ukraine is concerned. And as all of us were discussing the last 2-3 days, the Western allies are watching closely. China is watching this engagement very closely. But the Prime Minister, without mincing words, has put out India's stated position very clearly right in front of President Putin.
He also underlined, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also underlined that to all the other nations, I would like to say that India is for peace. And we would like, and we are ready to play whatever role that is required to ensure there is peace. That's one point. But what is also important is that Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that you and me, as he was looking at President Putin, that you and me had a very, very open, frank chat. And he said, I appreciate that you were frank and honest and very, very candid in your thoughts. And then he said कि हम तो शांति की बात कर रहे हैं, पर जो आपने कहा वो भी काफ़ी अनुकूल था. And he said, जिसकी वजह से मुझे आशा बंधी है. That means that President Putin was also inclined towards a peaceful solution. And that he was very, very encouraged. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said he was very, very encouraged, and that's what's given him hope that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And he said this is not the age for war, and more importantly, bam banduk ke beech mein shanti ki baat nahi ho sakti. You cannot talk peace in the battlefield, and that's why you've got to sit in front of each other. आमने सामने बैठ करके शांति की बात हो सकती है. That's what he said, that you've got to sit in front of each other and talk, and then come down and thrash it out. So it's only through dialogue and diplomacy that peace can be achieved, and Bharat is ready to play whatever role that's required to be able to enable a situation where there is peace and prosperity. And he said that I'm very, very happy that Russia is also inclined to the same. Now that's the big message. The big message is Russia is also inclined. Now in the past also Russian Federation and President Putin's office and the Kremlin has said that we are open to talking peace as long as it's a frank open chat. And they said that in the past the efforts that have been made from NATO by President Zelensky have all been unilateral because Russia has not been on the table. Somebody else cannot sit there and negotiate for Russia and put Russia's point of view. So if there's got to be peace and there's got to be negotiations, both sides have to sit across the table and then talk. And that's what's going to resolve issues. And I think Prime Minister Narendra Modi very clearly saying that Bharat is ready to do that and play a role if required, whatever role that is required to bring about peace, to bring about a certain level of diplomacy, dialogue between nations that are in conflict, Bharat is ready to play that role. And he says that I'm glad that we've got a relationship that's based on trust and mutual respect. So somewhere is Bharat going to play, is India going to play the role of a mediator, or somewhere bring two parties on the table and leave it for them to thrash it out. We have to wait and watch what we do, because either ways, it's going to be a little tricky, whatever happens, ladies and gentlemen, and to Kritsween, that there are many who believe that Bharat should not get right into the middle of it, thick of things. It should help facilitate a dialogue and then steer clear of the conversations, because that needs to be thrashed out between the two parties involved, because Bharat is friends with both sides of that entire conversation table, which is right now engaged in a very, very adversarial and conflict position. So that's why we have to see if Bharat is able to play a role where we are able to bring both sides to the table and get a way forward for dialogue and somewhere steps towards peace. I think Bharat would have played that role. And right now, in the global scheme of things, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as leader of Bharat, as Prime Minister of Bharat, is perhaps one of the most credible leaders who both sides will lend an ear to. And also he has perhaps the ear of both sides, and they are willing to listen to Bharat's position, because Bharat has very clearly said that we are practicing strategic autonomy, and we're going to be friends on both sides. We're going to keep our friends, old friends and new. We're going to be friendly to both. We're not going to pick and choose one over the other.
Absolutely. Whether or not India will play a greater role, only time will tell. But like you said, there were critics who were in fact expecting India or the Prime Minister to shy from these questions that are being asked of India on what its position is as far as the war in Ukraine is concerned. The Prime Minister spoke of how he is in favor of peace, and that was warmly welcomed by President Putin as well. Many thanks for that, Anand. We let go of you for now. Let me quickly take in a word from my colleague Siddhant, who continues to stay on with us as well. Siddhant, apart from this, apart from the war in Ukraine and what the Prime Minister truly felt about it, how diplomacy and dialogue is the way forward, there were a couple of other significant issues that were touched upon by the two leaders. Talk about fuel agreement, trade, and how India seeks Russia's cooperation in expanding further. If you could quickly come in on that.
Well, absolutely. Look, Prime Minister underlines that food, fuel and fertilizer are the three major components of India-Russia relationship at this point in time, in these times, in these days when world is going through very complex and critical times. And in fact, the agenda that we also know is mainly to focus on the green energy, sustainable energy, fertilizer, and also the exports. So these are going to be the key focus area when both leaders are going to set for the bilateral talks. And also one spectrum where we could expect some outcome, perhaps an announcement could be, one could be the nuclear cooperation, because as the CEO of Rostam, the nuclear state corporation company of Russia, has given this statement that they are in talks with India to develop 6 new nuclear reactors, a different unit altogether. We could expect outcome on that in that spectrum. And the second could be the trade corridor. In fact, Prime Minister dropped hint this morning that both countries are in talks to develop a Vladivostok-Chennai trade maritime corridor, and also to develop international north-south transport corridor, which is long pending. So we could expect some outcomes, agreements on these two projects as well. So the bilateral meet is going on. In fact, in some time from now, both leaders will conclude the bilateral. Both sides will conclude the bilateral meeting, and by the end of the day, we could get the statement or the readout from both sides to perhaps look into it, that what exactly has been decided by both sides.
The press briefing by the Foreign Secretary, that's what we're watching out for next. But let's quickly talk about the Prime Minister's response, the clear response that came in 2022 on the sidelines of the SCO summit in Uzbekistan, and the one that we heard from Prime Minister just now when he said India is in favor of peace. We quickly play out both those reactions.
एक्सेलेंसी, मैं जानता हूं कि आज का युग युद्ध का है नहीं, और हमने फोन पर भी कई बार आपसे इस विषय में बात की है कि डेमोक्रेसी और डिप्लोमेसी और डायलॉग, ये सारी बातें ऐसी हैं कि जो दुनिया को एक स्पर्श करती है। आने वाले दिनों में शांति के रास्ते पर हम कैसे बढ़ सके, उसके विषय में जरूर आज हमें चर्चा करने का मौका मिलेगा। आपका व्यू पॉइंट समझने का मुझे भी एक अवसर मिलेगा। लेकिन फिर भी जो विषय हैं जिसकी बात मैं करता रहता हूं, कल आपने मुझे अपने निवास स्थान पर बुलाया और एक सच्चे दोस्त के रूप में कल शाम हमने करीब 4-5 घंटे तक साथ रहे, अनेक विषयों पर हमने बातें की और मुझे खुशी हुई कि यूक्रेन के विषय में हम दोनों अपने अपने विचार खुले मन से, विस्तार से हम उसकी चर्चा कर पाए और बड़े आदर के साथ एक दूसरे के विचारों को हमने सुनने समझने का प्रयास किया। युद्ध हो, संघर्ष हो, आतंकवादी हमले हो, मानवता में विश्वास करने वाला हर व्यक्ति जब जानहानि होती है तब बहुत पीड़ित होता है। लेकिन उसमें भी जब मासूम बच्चों की कत्ल होती है, मासूम बच्चों को मरते हुए देखते हैं, तब हृदय छलनी हो जाता है और वो दर्द बहुत भयानक होता है। और इस विषय में भी आपसे विस्तार से चर्चा हुई। एक मित्र के नाते मैंने हमेशा कहा है कि हमारी भावी पीढ़ी के उज्जवल भविष्य के लिए शांति सर्वाधिक आवश्यक है। लेकिन मैं ये भी जानता हूं कि युद्ध के मैदान में समाधान संभव नहीं होते। बम, बंदूक और गोलियों के बीच समाधान और शांति वार्ताएं सफल नहीं होती हैं और हमने वार्ता के माध्यम से ही शांति के रास्ते अपनाने होंगे।
Now, this is not an era of war. This was in fact later used in the G20 declaration in Bali as well, on part of India. For the meanwhile, we quickly shift our attention now to Jammu and Kashmir. And the latest, remember, unfortunately, another terror incident has come to light in which 5 Jawans have lost their lives. So 5 Jawans killed, another 5 currently undergoing treatment. And as we speak, there are visuals as well that we are picking up of the wreath-laying ceremony of the 5 Jawans who've lost their life to this terror attack in Kathua. All of them hail from Uttarakhand, and we will just be flashing, all right, on your screens are those visuals of the wreath-laying ceremony of the 5 Jawans who have been killed on the line of duty in Kathua in Jammu and Kashmir. To talk a little bit about the investigations, remember the NI officials are already on their way to Kathua. Subsequently, the NI will be taking over investigations, but currently they will be assisting the police in evidence gathering. Kathua is where 2 army vehicles came under attack, so they were ambushed by these terrorists, and that's what's resulted in 5 of our Jawans losing their life. 5 of them killed, another 5 currently undergoing treatment, like I said, in the army hospital. And it was their vehicle that first came under attack by these terrorists. This happened in Kathua last evening, and ever since search operations have been ongoing. 5 soldiers succumbing to their injuries and currently tributes being paid to them. These are live visuals coming in from Dehradun of the wreath-laying ceremony. The terrorist attack took place on Monday. An eyewitness, in fact, has also said it was only minutes before the terrorists ambushed the targeted army truck bus that a bus of full civilians also used this road. So it was a road that was used by civilians as well. That's where this terror attack took place. And highly placed sources, of course, in the know-how of the investigations have been telling us the manner in which this entire terror attack was plotted is also becoming increasingly clear with each passing hour. But let me go across to Ishan Vani joining us with more details. We keep up with these visuals, live tributes being paid to the brave hearts, Ishan. Live visuals coming in from Dehradun. Tell us a little bit about them and also what is going on as far as investigations are concerned. We're learning that an NI team is also on its way.
Well, yes, wreath is being laid to remember these brave hearts who laid down their lives for the nation while fighting these militants in Kathua. the families and including the Chief Minister of Uttarakhand, since all of them are from Uttarakhand, is now laying wreath at this particular location. We already know that many of them are from Uttarakhand, most of them actually, given the fact that this is an area which is under the Western Command, the 9 Corps, or what we call as Rising Stars, and many of them, most of them are from the Uttarakhand, and today now the Chief Minister of Uttarakhand laying wreath and paying his tributes. But the investigation is something where the NIA will join the J&K police in investigating the case. Probably we are learning that it might be NIA which will take this particular case further and try to investigate it. We have seen it in the past that NIA has led a thorough investigation in such cases, and whenever such incidents have taken place in Jammu, the NIA has swung into action and tried to unearth the entire modus operandi of all those who are involved in this, particularly the work of OGWs or any local support that they might have. That is a priority for the government or for the investigating agencies right now to unearth that how did they reach there, was there any local guide which was providing them help, was there any specific instructions passed by a local who told them that where all they have to reach to attack and carry out this particular deadly attack. But yes, this is somewhere where the forces will have to once again, strategize to really, what all they can do to prevent certain attacks. So because there can be an intelligence flow is less, given the fact that these have been operationally, very less operational areas, given the fact that the violence hasn't been there. There hasn't been any such attacks have taken place. It's since 2021 that such attacks have taken place, and there has been a gap of months in between each attack. Forces were able to kill all the ones who attacked security forces in Doda, 3 of them.
Ishan, a total of 10 soldiers were hit, 5 of whom succumbed to their injuries. The rest are undergoing treatment. But I want to quickly take in a word from Anupam Trivedi joining us on the phone line. Anupam, हमें बताइए ये जो हमारे 5 बहादुर हैं जिन्होंने अपनी जान गंवा दी है इस टेरर अटैक में, उनके बारे में थोड़ा बताइए. सारे शायद उत्तराखंड से हैं.
Yeah, of course. See, all the 5 brave soldiers are from Uttarakhand. They are from the 3 districts. 2 are from Pauri Garhwal, 2 are from Tehri Garhwal, and 1 is from Rudraprayag district. And 2 families were recently residing close to Dehradun, and they have now left Dehradun for their ancestral village. Meanwhile, the bodies have reached at the Jollygrant airport, where the Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami, former Chief Minister Trivendra Singh Rawat, and many other dignitaries are present over there, and they are just paying their tributes to these brave soldiers. And meanwhile, relatives of some of the and family members of some of the Jawans are also present over there. So today the bodies will be sent back to their villages, and the cremation is likely to take place tomorrow. And this is perhaps the first time in the recent past when in such a case, when in such a terrorist operation, the 5 Jawans, all up from Uttarakhand. So although in Uttarakhand has a long history of the Jawans who give their services in the Indian Army, and the many officials, they prefer to join the Indian Army. But this is perhaps the first time when the 5 Jawans in one single operation have laid their lives.
Deaths have plunged their villages in shock and mourning, and some of these visuals coming in now as final tributes are being paid to the brave hearts. And a large group of militants in fact was involved in the attack, and search operations are continuing as we speak. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami as well condemned the attack. He said the news of 5 soldiers being martyred in the terrorist attack on an army convoy in Kathua is extremely painful. I condemn this cowardly attack and can say with full confidence that these enemies of humanity will not be spared. I pray to God to give peace to the souls of the departed and strengthen to the bereaved families to bear this immense pain and speedy recovery of the injured as well. 5 Jawans, remember, undergoing treatment as we speak, and the visuals of wreath-laying currently coming in from Uttarakhand. It most certainly is devastating for the families of those Jawans who have lost their lives on line of duty. And like I said, the Chief Minister already speaking of the supreme sacrifice, how it will not be in vain. 5 of them, all 5 of them, the brave soldiers, are from Uttarakhand, and they were martyred during this cowardly terrorist attack in Kathua and Jammu and Kashmir. It's a moment of extreme pain for all of us, and more so for the family members of the 5 brave hearts. Like I said, investigations are still continuing, and NI team is currently on its way. Wreath-laying ceremony of the 5 Jawans is currently underway. Tributes have been pouring in since last evening when the news first came. It's when the 2 army vehicles were passing by that the terrorists attacked these 2 vehicles, ambushed these 2 vehicles, and later opened fire as well, leaving an impact on at least 10 soldiers who were part of this convoy. It was a routine patrolling on their part, and there have been increasing worries around this particular belt in Jammu and Kashmir and how it is now under the terrorist radar. So that's being evaluated by the security personnel. Remember, it all started with the attack that took place on the Pilgrims bus not too long ago, and ever since there's no looking back, it seems. So there is a challenge that the security agencies also continue to face. But I want to quickly go across to Ishan Wani once again. Ishan, we keep up with these live visuals, a moment to remember the supreme sacrifice as is being spoken of by the entire country. But like I said, it's been hours now. Tell us a little bit about this route that the army convoy was taking. Was it a routine patrolling, or was it a random patrolling that was going on when this convoy came under attack? What more have we been able to find out the last few hours?
The army vehicles keep patrolling these areas since they're remote in nature, but these areas haven't seen violence in a very long time, and that's why there's an element of surprise. And these areas which haven't seen any such attack unfold in years, and suddenly there has been a spike in the violence, and that is what is now prompting to change this SOP of the security forces. These vehicles are not bulletproof trucks. These are general trucks which can be fired upon and through which bullets can penetrate. We have seen also them using, armored piercing bullets, which have been found in several operations, which essentially means that even if there's some grading of bulletproof armory that you have, it will be able to penetrate through it. Though the government is taking stringent steps and trying to introduce an upgraded level of bulletproofs to ensure that the forces remain safe, but it will take some time for them to do that. And taking full advantage of that, they are trying to attack those non-bulletproof trucks, trying to fire at them, lob grenades. And these generally trucks carry patrolling parties or Russians from one location to another. And, these are the places which haven't seen violence in the worst of times. And that's why, there hasn't been that much of thrust on intelligence gathering in the past, let's say, past 10 years. But now there will be renewed, instructions from the administration to, once again, try to ensure that all the contacts are established. There is one...
हम उनके मान सम्मान के लिए उनका नाम हमेशा स्मरण में रहे। हम अपनी सरकार पहले से भी ये काम करती रही है और निकट भविष्य में भी करेंगे। हर प्रकार से आने वाली पीढ़ियों के स्मरण में इन सभी हमारे वीर बांकुरों का नाम अंकित होगा।
And we shift our attention to another breaking news response coming in. This is DGP of J&K Police, who's also reacted to the unfortunate demise of 5 of our brave hearts. He's in fact spoken of the search operations that have been ongoing as well. So let's quickly talk about his latest response. He's also reviewed the ongoing operation in Kathua and conducted an aerial survey. That is what's happened on part of the DGP Jammu and Kashmir Police. Let me go across to Ishan Wani, who continues to stay on with us. Tell us a little bit about, the manner in which security forces are now taking this up, the search operations that continue, and the manner in which the security agencies are taking stock of the situation. What kind of monitoring is underway as we speak, Ishan?
Priority for the security forces is first to get a hold of all those who were involved in this attack, particularly those who opened fire and attacked that army's buses. And that's why you're seeing that Director General of Police, R.R. Swain, along with the ADG Jammu range, went on the ground. They have reviewing the situation. They have flown from all the way from Jammu to reach there to ensure that they are able to, not only act as a moral booster for the forces who are operating on the ground, but also give necessary instructions in terms of carrying out operations and also in terms of trying to ensure that whatever is required, that is given to the forces while they carry out this operation. These are not easy operations, but they are very difficult to conduct given the fact that the sort of terrain that is the prevalent there and the sort of temperatures. It's hot, humid, and then suddenly starts raining in the mountains. It has been raining and there have been bad road conditions in that particular part of, Kathua, where this attack has unfolded. And that is where the element of surprise is. We have seen it in Rajouri, we have seen it in Riyasi, that whenever, these remote areas there are, and then when the vehicles pass through these bend curves or bad roads, that's when the speed of vehicle comes down and these militants try to attack security forces. And that's something which has become now prominent and very evident that they will try to do it. But yes, forces will have to once again re-synergize and try to ensure that they're able to get human intelligence and also technical intelligence to get hold of the situation. So the forces are well aware about the numbers that they somewhere are between 30 to 40 in Jammu region, that these foreign militants, that they have not shied away from saying that yes, infiltrations have taken place and they have come in, but they will try to ensure that all those infiltrators who have come across, they're neutralized well on time just before they could inflict any harm. But yes, the fact also is that there hasn't been much greater success. If we talk about the sort of attacks that have taken place on the militant side, there has been, they have been able to successfully disappear for a while before security forces could launch any operation. But here we're seeing that para commandos along with the Rashtra Rifle units and J&K Police Special Operation Group have been put on the ground to ensure that they are able to trap them down. One other aspect is that J&K Police has also rewarded those police personnel who have successfully conducted two operations. One was in Kathua, in which two highly trained militants were killed, and then later on three more were killed in Doda. These are the SPOs, Special Police Officers, or the low-rank officers of the J&K Police. They were promoted and their services were confirmed because they did well in the operation. So that reward system, is a morale booster for those policemen who are trying to, do operations in these difficult terrains and difficult circumstances. While the force are also trying to ensure that the young blood who have just passed out of the academy, police training centers, they are sent there because they carry a lot of expertise and they are able to, use more modern gadgets and conduct operations thoroughly, that they are also sent there. So yes, there's a plan that the forces have. But as of now, what we have seen unfold yesterday is something, where the forces will have to
place, but there's also a modus operandi being repeated in a sense by these terrorists, because it's a sixth such terror attack that's come to light in Jammu division, a second such attack in Kathua district in a month's time. Ishan, many thanks for joining us with the latest. We'll keep coming back to you, heading to a very quick break for now. We'll be right back with more.
Russia diplomatic partnership. That is what Indian Foreign Ministry has been maintaining. So this breakthrough now coming during Prime Minister Modi's visit to Russia will be seen as a major diplomatic breakthrough.
Right, Aman. Please stay with us. Payal also continues to stay with us on the broadcast. Payal, why exactly having a very strong bond and a bonhomie with Russia at this point of time so important for India, also considering a couple of, strained border relations with rest of the countries?
Well, of course, India's visit to Russia is being keenly observed by many, including China and US, among the others as well. Remember, it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi who used his diplomatic excellencies and used his diplomatic connections whatsoever that he had when he was safely able to evacuate Indian students stuck in Ukraine during the beginning of the war. Remember, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to both the Israel president as well as, Ukraine president, as well as the Russian president, and a safe evacuation of the Indian students really happened as well. So this is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first visit ever since he became the Prime Minister, out of the country. He's gone on a diplomatic visit as well. So obviously it's a very important visit given the fact that there's going to be the discussion of the Ukraine war also, which is going to be on the agenda, because the Indian government is always in the opinion that, war is not the solution for anything else, and we are not in a condition to wage war as well. So of course, other key issues including defense and the fact that India has been buying its petrol from Russia has also been on the watch for many countries, especially in the West as well. So all these discussions will be extremely important as Prime Minister Narendra Modi continues with his visit. Of course, he had a first. He landed there yesterday. He had a one-to-one meeting with the president, with President Putin yesterday, and the results are already there for people to see. There are many Indian families who wanted their people to be back given the fact that several Indians had laid down their lives, had in fact suffered because of the war in Ukraine, and basically they were converted into soldiers for the Russian army, but they will now be returned back to India. That's of course a huge diplomatic coup as far as India is concerned.
Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is currently in Russia, sojourned, landed in Moscow on Monday evening. And upon his arrival in Moscow, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was accorded Guard of Honor at the airport itself. Russia's first Deputy Prime Minister, Vladimir Putin, received Prime Minister Modi at the airport. And Russia's President Vladimir Putin hosted Prime Minister Modi at his countryside residence in Moscow. Now, Prime Minister Modi and Putin were seen shaking hands as well. Today, the Prime Minister is going to meet the Indian diaspora, after which the first leg of his 3-day visit will come to an end, and the Prime Minister will then leave for Austria, which will also mark the first trip by any Indian Prime Minister to the country in last 41 years.
Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, has arrived in Moscow for the 22nd annual summit. At the airport on arrival, he was received by First Deputy Prime Minister, His Excellency Denis Manturov. He was also given a ceremonial welcome and Guard of Honor. His Excellency First Deputy Prime Minister accompanied him to the hotel. At the hotel, Prime Minister was welcomed by a large gathering of Indian community members. Prime Minister has a packed schedule. He'll be attending the 22nd annual summit. He will have restricted and delegation level talks, and he will meet the Indian community, he will address the Indian community members, and also visit Rosatom, an exhibition space.
And CNN News 18 Siddhant Mishra spoke with Ambassador of Austria to India, Katharina Wiese, on Prime Minister's Austria visit as well. Listen to what she has to say.
Welcome back. You're watching Nation at 5. We return with the latest we're picking up in the Mumbai hit and run case. And it's a big update in the latest. Mihir Shah, one of the main accused in the case, has been arrested after absconding for 58 hours. Now remember, earlier a Mumbai court granted bail to Mihir's father and Sena leader Rajesh Shah. And this despite the Mumbai police, in fact, accusing him of tampering with the evidence against Mihir Shah, also enabling his escape, and further asking the driver of the car, who was also arrested earlier alongside him, to take the blame of the accident. The Mumbai police has been piecing together the CCTV evidence as well, which makes it very clear that the victim, the woman in this case, was dragged on for 1.5 kilometers. In fact, CNN News 18 also spoke to the other victim, the husband of the woman who, remember, managed an escape, a close escape. He, in fact, says if my wife wasn't dragged on for 1.5 kilometers twice, she would perhaps have been alive. Listen in.
सर अभी जो है पुलिस ने ये कहा है कि मिहिर शाह को अरेस्ट किया गया है शाहपुर से। सर आपको लगता है कि आप कई बार कह रहे थे कि धाराएं सही नहीं लगी है, तो आपको लगता है कि अब जो अरेस्ट किया तो आपको न्याय मिलेगा?
अभी तो न्याय मिलने वाला नहीं है, क्योंकि उसको 24 घंटे का अंदर पकड़ लेता तो समझ में आता था। अभी बताओ, अगर उसने गुनाह नहीं किया तो वो छुप क्यों गया? उसने गुनाह नहीं किया तो वो छुप क्यों गया? वो सामने क्यों नहीं आया? अगर उसने नहीं लेके गया, एक्सीडेंट नहीं किया तो वो सामने क्यों नहीं आया? 3 दिन छुपा क्यों? इसका राज क्या है? इसमें पॉलिटिकल कुछ है? इधर इसमें कुछ पॉलिटिक्स रहेगा, इसलिए वो छुपा है ना। हाँ, अभी वो ऊपर से वो लोग प्रेशर डालेंगे, हो गया खत्म। क्या कर सकते हैं हम लोग गरीब लोग हैं, हम लोग क्या बड़ा वकील नहीं कर सकते? हमारे पीछे कोई नहीं है।
सर ये भी कहा जाता है इन्वेस्टिगेशन में कि आप लोग जब स्कूटी पे थे तो तकरीबन 1.5 किलोमीटर तक आपकी वाइफ को गाड़ी से धक्का लगा गया।
ऐसा कौन बोला 1.5 किलोमीटर तक गया? अभी बताओ, सीजे हाउस से सीलिंग कितना किलोमीटर है हमको बताओ। सीजे हाउस आप जानते हैं, सीलिंग जानते हैं? फिर मेरा औरत क्या उधर गिर के 1.5 किलोमीटर गिर के क्या चल के गया उधर?
नहीं, ऐसा बोला कि उसके बोनेट से वो खींच के लेके गए उनको।
वो बोनेट से खींच के नहीं, पहिए से खींच के लेके गए। पहिया और बोनेट के बीच में फंस गई और उधर से खींच के लेके गए। अगर वो फंस गई ना तो वो क्या इधर उधर गिरती थी ना, फंसी नहीं रहती तो 2 मिनट में गिर जाती साइड में।
We should get justice. My mother should get justice. I want him to get this. Hang him. Like, she is in really bad pain. उसको बहुत लगा है. I saw her with my eye. The hospital, I saw her. She's in really bad pain. I want her justice.
And there's another breaking news update coming in. Remember, Mihir Shah has already been arrested 72 hours after he went absconding. In the latest, though, we're learning that Mihir's mother and sister have also been detained by the Mumbai police. Let me quickly go across to my colleague Yasha joining us with more details. What are the police wanting to understand from the mother and sister of Mihir, though he too has been arrested after 72 long hours. The father's been granted bail within 24 hours. What next for the police? What are they trying to find out, Yasha?
So yes, when we speak of the investigation in this case, it had come to fore that after the accident, Mihir had called up his father. Now, when he called up his father, the father had instructed that he head towards home. In fact, at that point, Mihir had headed towards his girlfriend's house at Goregaon. Following which, at around 8 a.m. on Sunday morning was where Mihir was picked up by his sister from the girlfriend's house at Goregaon. The family stays at Borivali. So here now, following which, when cops had reached the residence of Shahs at Borivali, none of them were present there. In fact, the house was locked. Cops had tried to call up and reach out to the family, but they were untraceable. So as a part of the investigation, cops had found out that there's a possibility that Mihir could have absconded along with his family members, which is where, considering the fact that he has now been arrested from Sahapur, which is in Thane district, cops would now want to understand about how the family, that is the mother and the sister, helped Mihir abscond from Mumbai. What was the route that was taken, who all were involved, who all gave a call to the father, and what were the instructions that were followed. So which is where we see that the detention of Mir's mother and sister have taken place. In fact, when you speak of this instance after the accident took place, when Rajesh Shah, who is one of the Shiv Sena Eknath Shinde leader, he was informed about the accident. He had in fact asked the driver to claim responsibility for this accident. He also mentioned that he'd want the driver to claim that he was behind wheels and not Mihir. So all of these details were the reason why Rajesh Shah was arrested by cops in this case, though he was granted the bail yesterday. Apart from that, the driver was arrested. He is now sent to the custody until July 11. In fact, when the driver was produced before the court yesterday, he was sent for a one-day police custody. But considering that Mihir has now been arrested, cops want to cross-question Mihir as well as the driver. They would want to understand certain bits, certain details of the accident that took place and what the situation that Mihir was in. Of course, we've heard the family members speak about how they've claimed that Mihir was at that time under the influence of alcohol. But what they've also mentioned is that considering it's been 72 hours since the accident and Mihir had absconded, then there's no way to prove whether he was under the influence of alcohol or not. Cops will, of course, try to piece together CCTV footages of the place where the accident took place. They've, of course, before that also gotten the CCTV of the Juhu pub where Mihir was seen partying with his friends on the wee hours of Saturday night. So all of these details are crucial, but amidst all of this, the family members have been instrumental in helping me escape from Mumbai. They've been instrumental in tampering of evidences. So all of these are crucial details that the cops will try and understand from the family of the accused in this case. In fact, when you speak of the father of the accused, he was arrested particularly for tampering of evidences, because after the accident took place, he was the one who suggested that the driver accept responsibility that he was behind the wheels. Apart from that, he also asked Mihir to leave the city. He ensured that Mihir steps out of the city and reaches a safe place. Apart from that, he also ensured that the car reaches Kalanagar, which is at Bandra, approximately say 5 to 7 kilometers away from where the accident took place. So amidst all of these details, in fact, Rajesh Shah also happened to ensure that the car can be taken away from the accident spot. It was ensured. It also made plans that it should be towed away, and the party sticker, which was on the windscreen of the car and on the back screen, was removed so as to ensure that the car cannot be identified. So all of these details were in fact crafted by Rajesh Shah, which is where he was the one who was arrested for tampering of evidences. Yes.
Absolutely. Many questions remain unanswered, and perhaps the police will find an answer to some of them after questioning Mihir now that he has been arrested. And since questions are being asked of the Shinde government over the law and order situation in Maharashtra, he's come out to say that influential people will not be allowed to manipulate the system. They will not be allowed to take undue advantage of the system. But you did speak to the husband of the victim in this case. He really doesn't have any faith in the system. What did you make of that conversation that you had with him, and what was he implying, Yasha?
The husband of the victim was in fact a victim himself. He was the one who was present when the accident took place. It was the two of them, that is the husband and wife, they were on the scooty when the accident took place on Sunday morning at Worli. This was very close to Atrium Mall where the accident took place. In fact, narrating the entire incident, he said that when the scooty was hit by the BMW, what happened was that he was also thrown away, and so was his wife. And at that moment, he says that the wheel of the car had gone over his wife's hand. In fact, she was yelling, asking for help, but the car did move over all over and dragged her all the way. So all of these are, in fact, heart-wrenching details that come out from the incident that has been narrated by the husband of the victim in this case. Though he said that that there have been lapses by the police officials. One, of course, he wants a case of murder to be registered against the accused in this case. As of now, cops have charged him with culpable homicide. He clearly says that it was a murder and not culpable homicide. So this is one allegation that the family is leveling, particularly against cops, saying that they've not leveled the right charges against the accused. They've also said that the cops have not been they've not really handled this case with precaution, or they've not been quick in handling the case. Of course, the allegation that he's leveled also states that the accused was under the influence of alcohol. He's mentioned that just because family has political connects, which is where the accused was not arrested prior. It took 3 days for the accused to be arrested. All of these are allegations that have been leveled again by the family, clearly on the grounds that if the accused was under the influence of alcohol, now there's no way to prove whether there was alcohol in his blood or not, because the arrest has taken place after 3 days. So all of these are crucial allegations that have been leveled against
the face a lot of pressure and political
So,
pressure, because Sena, UBT, several leaders have come out to say, Yasha, that who is it that was shielding Mihir Shah? How was he allowed to be on the run for over 50 hours? And what explains this kind of a hike in hit and run cases in Maharashtra? Many thanks, Yasha, for joining us with those details. We're tracking that very closely. A quick break for now. We'll be right back with more on the other side.
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree for humanity, one tree for Mother Earth, one tree for a future. Project One Tree, a News 18 network initiative.
PhonePe proudly presents.
Ma'am, this is the first time after 40 years that Indian Prime Minister is visiting Austria, and we have been told that the core of this visit is going to be innovation, technology, business. Talk to us a little bit about it.
Yes, it is right. Prime Minister Modi is on his way to Austria. It's the first high-level visit at this level in more than 40 years, and we are very pleased and honored that it is taking place in this year when we are celebrating 75 years of bilateral relations between Austria and India. You are right. One important part of this visit is the strengthening of our economic partnership and technology and innovation. Cooperation in the startup sector has been an important focus of our business cooperation over the past 2 years. There have been, I think, 5 startup missions both ways in the past years. And during the visit of the Austrian Minister of Labour and Economy, Minister Kocher, to India in February, a bilateral startup bridge was launched between India and Austria. I think it's India's 21st startup bridge. And it has already brought more cooperation in that sector, as you mentioned.
And some big developments now coming in at the top of the segment. As per the government sources, Russia has decided to discharge and in fact facilitate return of all the Indians working in the Russian army after the Prime Minister takes up the matter with the President Putin. This is very big development as 4 Indians have already been killed in the war, 10 have returned, but nearly 35 to 40 Indians are still believed to be stuck in Russia. Remember, India has been pressing very hard for return of all the Indians fighting in the Russian army as well, and it can be seen as a diplomatic victory for India. We have CNN News 18's Aman Sharma and Payal Mehta joining us on the broadcast. A very good morning to both of you. Aman, first coming to you, what kind of messaging can be decoded with the strategic partnership that India is trying to hold with Russia under Modi 3.0?
See, this is a very big development. Russia has decided to discharge and facilitate.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned to CNN News 18. We want to quickly flash out details. We are picking up once again from Jammu. In the latest, we're learning that an encounter has broken out between the security forces and terrorists in Doda in Jammu division. Remember, Doda also falls in Jammu, which essentially means it lies on the south of the Pir Panjal range. And remember, we're already tracking or rather making out the manner in which there's been uptick in the kind of terror incidents that continue to trickle in from this part of Jammu and Kashmir, and that's what's essentially being witnessed once again. An encounter has broken out between security forces and terrorists in Doda. It was just yesterday that 6 of our Jawans lost their life in a terror incident. They were killed by terrorists in Kathua, 150 kilometers from Kathua. Let me take in a word from Ishan Wani joining us with more details. Ishan, what more can you tell us about this latest encounter that's broken out?
Remember what we have told by the police at the upper area of Doda in the forest belt where the encounter has taken place. There was a high alert among the forces in Doda belt because recently 3 of these militants were killed who had sophisticated weapons with them, including the M4 rifle. And ever since then, the security forces were trying to tap in and neutralize as many as they can. And that's when today, a while back, there has been an exchange of gunfire that has taken place in the upper reaches of Doda in a forest area where the forces have deployed number of security force personnel to neutralize these militants. And once again, the contact has been established today as well. Last week, if you remember, a week or so back, there was an encounter which took place in Doda near a temporary wooden-made structure in which 3 militants were killed who had sophisticated weapons with them. So carrying on with that operation because they knew that in Doda there is a possibility of more militants hiding or foreigners in nature. And another encounter has today broken out. A while back, we are told that exchange of gunfire is taking place as we speak, and the forces are trying to corner them from all the sides so that this encounter can be concluded successfully.
Okay, many thanks, Ishan, for joining us with the latest. It's a developing story, so we'll come back to you as and when we have more inputs on the same. We now shift our attention to another exclusive, CNN News 18 exclusive. Remember, while Lok Sabha elections are a thing of the past, one is revisiting the election results time and again, and more so goes for the political parties concerned, especially if we talk about Uttar Pradesh. Remember, the BJP has been in introspection mode, and it's a CNN News 18 exclusive. We have decoded why the BJP got less seats in UP. One of the key reasons is opposition's tweaking of the 400 Par slogan to claim Modi 3.0 will change the constitution and end reservation. I want to quickly go across to my colleague Anindya Banerjee joining us live here from the newsroom itself. Anindya, tell us a little bit about what we've managed to find out. We've seen political parties brainstorming, what really went wrong, why did their strategy not work out, but for the BJP, what was it that did not work out in UP?
Well, BL Santosh, the General Secretary organization, has been going around across India. Even he was there in Lucknow this Saturday and Sunday. And what the essence, what we have given to understand is that there have been 10 reasons that are responsible for BJP's defeat, particularly in Uttar Pradesh. And particularly the biggest one is that the narrative that the India bloc has been able to set that 400 Par is going to create, a situation where the whole idea of reservation will be dismantled. And it actually got compounded with certain comments from certain sections of the BJP leadership, where they said that we need to, correct the constitution, amend the constitution. So very clearly that is one of the reasons, and there are other reasons as well. There have been Brahmin discontent, there have been Thakur discontent, because Purushottam Rupala said that, this all these former royals, they were sided with the British, and that didn't go down well, particularly in the eastern Uttar Pradesh. Raja Bhaiya definitely didn't support BJP, and a lot of Rajput leaders also didn't support BJP, and also there are other reasons as well. But what I given to understand is that these are the two primary reasons, and also when it talking about the caste, even the backward caste, the Kurmis and the Kushwas, they didn't support quite well, in spite of Nitish Kumar, a very big face of Kurmis campaigning in Varanasi, campaigning in eastern part of Uttar Pradesh. Kurmis didn't vote for them. So very clearly, across caste, Kushwas, Kurmis, Brahmins, Thakurs, particularly Thakurs and Brahmins, they are co-constituents of the BJP. They clearly didn't
So
vote.
that's one, but it's also safe to say, I believe, that Akhilesh Yadav on his part attempted a great social engineering. So that combined with this perhaps was the impact that the BJP had to feel.
Yeah, of course, he did what he did, and all due credit to Mr. Yadav. But when BJP brainstorms, they try to find out where they lacked, what ailed BJP, and there are 10 reasons they have found, and clearly that was complemented by what Akhilesh Yadav has been able to do.
Many thanks, Anandya, for joining us with those details. It's important that these parties stay in introspection mode also because there are several crucial assembly elections not too far away, and that's why we're seeing this kind of a decoding play out on part of each and every party concerned. Let's quickly now shift our attention to the Hathras tragedy, remember, which claimed 121 lives. And now in the latest, we have accessed the probe panel report. Remember, an SIT was constituted and now it has submitted a detailed report to the UP government. It's spoken of how the organizers are pretty much to be blamed for the stampede situation, but has also spoken of the responsibility of the administration and the UP police. And given these findings, a little bit of an action has also been taken by the UP government. Let me quickly go across to my colleague Anshul joining us with more details. Anshul, first up, break it down for our viewers. Tell us about the key takeaways as far as this probe panel report is concerned.
So yes, this is an 800-page report that has been submitted to the Yogi Adityanath government by the SIT that was formed just minutes after the incident had happened. This report actually contains statements of at least 119 people who were eyewitnesses, including that of the DM and the SP of the state. Now, very interestingly, in this entire report, the SIT has pointed this out, that the higher-ups within the administration were not informed about the arrangements that were in place. And that is the reason why this decision has been taken to suspend 6 officials of the Hathras administration. However, a big question still remains that how is it possible that the DM and the SP of the state had no idea that something like this, such a massive gathering of 80,000 people is happening in their district? It remains to be seen when the Judicial Committee now goes ahead and submits the report. Will they actually name the SP and the DM for the laxity that has been shown? Apart from this, the entire the SIT has blamed the organizers entirely for the manner in which the preparations that should have been placed that were not followed, and also it has been mentioned that the people from the administration, the officers from the administration, were not present on the ground before the event had started, and they did not have any idea that the arrangements are not the same as has been required in the permission that was granted, and hence this action has been taken. It remains to be seen how many more people will be arrested, because at this point in time, if you look at the investigation that is underway, only one person from the organizing committee has been arrested. That is the main accused, Ved Prakash Madhukar, whereas the other members of the organizing committee are still at large. There are in total 11 arrests that have happened, but most of them are sevakas who were present on the spot, who were trying to control.
The local administration did not take the event seriously, did not inspect the venue where the satsang was to be held, and did not inform some of the senior officials about the exact details of the satsang. And perhaps that's what led to the crowd spilling over 2 lakh in number. Many thanks for that, Anshul. We will keep coming back to you as and when we pick up more. But quickly shifting our attention to the state of Tamil Nadu. Remember, 3 attacks have taken place on different political leaders from different political outfits in the last 1 week. It all began with a AIDMK leader, following which the BSP state chief was hacked to death, and in the latest a PMK leader has also been arrested. He's in fact undergoing treatment as we speak. In fact, this incident took place on Monday when he was attacked outside his home in Chennai's Kadalur, and chilling CCTV visuals show the attackers wielding sickles, hacking him before fleeing the scene. He, like I said, is undergoing treatment still, but there's a lot of political fireworks that is being witnessed over these 3 attacks. Anger over these attacks as several, like the BJP and AIDMK, continue to up the ante against the DMK. They say there is a total law and order collapse in Tamil Nadu. In fact, earlier today, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin also visited the house of the slain BSP state president K. Armstrong in Chennai, but the assurances, the repeated assurances that continue to come in from the DMK seem to cut no ice with his political rivals. Listen in for yourself.
Sir, ADMK leader was murdered in Kadalur, then BSP president, and PMK leader was also hacked, currently undergoing treatment and is in critical condition. 3 different instances in a span of 1 week. How does the BJP see these incidents?
Ma'am, in the last 14 days in Tamil Nadu, 134 murders are reported. Of course, in Chennai, a lot of murders are being reported, the important being the BSP state chief's murder. Now, what is more worrying and gruesome is the way all those murders are happening. People coming in the daylight, like a hooligans, like a henchman doing an operation, then they surrender within no time. And then we forget this murder, moment the next murder happens. This shows the complete failure of law and order, which is under the direct control of the Chief Minister, because he happens to be the Home Minister as well. And with respect to the surrender culture, with the Tamil Nadu BSP chief's murder, also 3 hours flat they surrendered, next day somebody surrendered, till now 11 people they have picked up. So these are all points to a larger symptom that somehow the basic policing is not there in the state.
2 murders, and then a PMK functionary was also hacked and is still being treated at the hospital. 3 instances of attacks over the last 1 week. How do you see the law and order situation in Tamil Nadu?
Law and order is deteriorating day by day in Tamil Nadu. Police comes under the Chief Ministers. Last month, Congress District Secretary was hacked to death in Tirunelveli. About 5 days ago, ADMK senior functionary was hacked to death in Salem. And then state chief of a national party, BSP, was hacked to death at his home. Yesterday, PMK functionary was hacked to death in Kadalur district. So this is a day, every day happening. What is the Chief Minister doing? If he's not in a position to take control, let him hand this over to someone else, some other minister who's capable enough. They have changed the police commissioner. Let us give him an opportunity. I feel like CBI probe will be a free and fair probe. And I concur with Ms. Mayawati and all the other leaders, like to have a CBI inquiry into the death of Mr. Armstrong.
And let's now once again shift our attention to the Kathua terror incident in which 6 Jawans were killed, and we've been tracking that very closely since the wreath-laying ceremony was also underway just a short while ago in Dehradun. But in the latest we're learning, and we have visuals as well. First visuals of the NI team reaching Kathua. So a first team of the NI officials in Kathua. As part of SOP, the NI team will aid local police in gathering evidence, and eventually, subsequently, as per protocol, the case is likely to be held over to the NIA. Let me go across to Arunima joining us with more details. All of it happening as per protocol, and NIA team has already arrived at the spot. What do we expect next, Arunima?
So the NIA team has not yet officially taken over this case. There is a strong possibility that Ministry of Home Affairs might ultimately ask this team to probe this case, since it's a case of terror attack. But why they are there is because, as per the standard operating procedure, every time a terror attack happens, NIA goes to the spot to assist the local police in evidence gathering and get a sense of the spot, so that eventually when the case goes to them, they are prepared from the word go. Now, at the spot, what the NIA team will focus on, they have taken taken over the case of Dangri, if you remember, in Rajouri. Villagers were lined up in 2023 and they were shot dead. They're also taking over the Bhattaduria case, which is where the army vehicle...
Okay, seem to have lost that line with Arunima. As is the case, when it comes to any terror incident, the NI usually steps in. Right now, the NI, of course, assisting the security agencies on ground, helping them, aiding them collect as much evidence before evidence is lost. Because next up, the focus is going to be on the investigations, the manner in which this terror attack was plotted, was carried out, forensic evidence is going to be collected by this team that is now assisting the security agencies in Kathua. That's all from me in this edition of Nation at 5. Over to my colleague Akanksha joining you live on Plain Speak.
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree for humanity, one tree for Mother Earth, one tree for our future. Project One Tree, a News 18 network initiative.
This is CNN News 18 and Federal Bank Primetime Studio.
Very warm welcome to everyone. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Akanksha Swaroop, and we are bringing you coverage from the CNN News 18 Primetime Federal Bank Studios. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, on being elected for the third time, has chosen to make his first bilateral visit to Russia, which clearly indicates the priorities at New Delhi is according to this partnership of trust. But without mincing words, Prime Minister Modi said that war was not a solution. Clearly, he was referring to the war in Ukraine. And without naming Ukraine, Prime Minister Modi mentioned the attack on a children's hospital. He said that seeing the bodies of children is very heartbreaking. On Monday, Ukraine's largest children's hospital suffered a massive attack as blasts ripped through the building. While Moscow has denied the role in this attack, several European nations have slammed the power behind this attack. In fact, the US State Department was quick to raise concerns with India regarding its relationship with Russia. But Prime Minister Modi's direct message for President Putin has shut many critics. There's no doubt that there's a perceptible bonhomie between Putin and Modi. They have met several times and spoken on several occasions on issues of mutual concerns as the global geopolitical scenario remains in flux. More importantly, there remains a historic trust in the strength of bilateral interests and several critical areas which act as drivers for the uniqueness of this strategic partnership. The visit also coincides with the NATO summit in Washington, dominated by the Ukraine war. So has Prime Minister Modi navigated India's diplomacy challenge? That's a big question we'll be answering with our guests today. But before we do that, during this visit, a key breakthrough has been achieved by Prime Minister Modi during his talks with President Putin. Russia has agreed to discharge and facilitate the return of all Indians working in the Russian army. Apart from this, India is to open 2 more consulates in Russia. Now, let's also take you through the key issues that came up during the talks and what it means for India. First and foremost is correcting the trade deficit. New Delhi is now expected to increase its exports to Moscow. How will it do that? By ramping up selling of commodities, spare parts, technological exports in exchange for oil imports from Russia. Remember, our imports from Russia are higher than the exports that are sent over to Moscow. At the same time, uranium supply pact, it remains a key concern because nuclear plants in India will now be getting a major boost. Why so? It will be beneficial for the nuclear power plant coming online in the southern state of Tamil Nadu. What is going to be the aspect on defense agreement? The S-400 surface-to-air missile will be providing India with security cover on both eastern and western borders. Moreover, the militaries of both the countries will be using each other's facilities for training, port calls and humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations as well. Military Logistics Pact is also a key part of the agenda between Moscow and New Delhi. It will facilitate the exchange of fuel and spare parts for Russian warships in the Indian Ocean region and Indian vessels in the Arctic. At the same time, Prime Minister Modi has also lauded Russia's efforts to assist India with fertilizer and food security that will ensure the interests of Indian farmers and boost food supplies in India's agricultural sector. At the same time, another inevitable aspect of this bilateral relationship is the energy sector. Amid rising prices, there's been a consistent